Welcome to the Healthcare Provider Happy Hour. This is a safe space where we invite healthcare providers to unapologetically be themselves after the working day. My name is Jennifer George, and each week I will connect you with guests and stories that will help transform your stress to success and fulfillment. Are you with me? Grab your drink of choice and let's chat. Hey everyone, welcome to the Healthcare Provider Happy Hour. I'm your host, Jennifer George, and I'm joining you this evening with a glass of water. I want to chat with you today again about toxic workplaces. This might be a common theme that you're going to start seeing in my podcast, and the reason for that is because it's one of the ones that I've received a lot of feedback on from the last episode that I chatted with you about kind of toxic signs to look for that could be affecting your joy at work. And so I really feel like people are relating to this and can benefit from understanding it a little more and relating to some topics that I bring about here. So I want to chat with you today about how to prevent a workplace from going toxic. It's possible. It's possible if we are aware of it, if we are aware that it's going in that direction to begin with. I think that, working in healthcare, I think we're one of the most resilient individuals, healthcare professionals, and I say that because we constantly are dealing with negative situations in some way, shape, or form that have happened to our patients, and we turn that experience for them into something positive as much as we possibly can, and it takes a special person to do that day in and day out. And I just want you to know that I appreciate each and every one of you for all you're doing right now and all you've done up until this point. And I hope that you continue to see your value each and every day as we are trending through this pandemic, through this marathon of a pandemic. We know that in healthcare, this is for the long haul. And I know it's a hard thing to wrap our heads around, but just know that you are making a difference, and you are making a difference in a positive way. So these are 5 signs that could help maybe prevent a workplace from going toxic if you feel like things are starting to kind of boil on your, like at your workplace or, among your team members, and you just kind of want to stop it before it lights up and gets worse. Okay, the first thing is cultivating community and connection. Every workplace should be doing this, right? Cultivating community and connection doesn't even necessarily mean among a big group of people. It could mean one person to one person. That's a community, that's a connection. So if you are feeling alone, who is that one person that you could go to and just be yourself with? Who won't judge you, who will give you honest feedback but still support you day to day? So that is super important. Who is that person that you could have non-clinical conversations with, right? Like that to me is super important as well, because then you come from the understanding that you not only respect and want the best for each other at work, but that you actually care about each other's well-being outside of work as well. Be transparent and visible. This is a big one too. It's one thing to be transparent about what's just going on in the workplace, but it's a whole other thing to be visible from the standpoint of just wanting to be supportive, right? Not from the standpoint of just looking for fault or looking from just a clinical lens, but just rather checking in is what I mean by being visible. Just checking in. Is there anything I could do for you? Are you doing okay? Do you need a hand? Things like that. And I know that where I work, that those are common phrases we are saying to each other on the floor. And every time I hear it, it means something to me, because it shows me that somebody sees me and how hard I'm working, and and I see them as someone who is trying to support me in my everyday tasks and in my everyday pursuit of trying to make the best out of every situation. 3, empowering one another. Empower your team members, right? I think as healthcare providers, again, because there's a lot that can go wrong in healthcare, we sometimes, and this is how our brains are wired, right? No matter how much good we do, we always focus on the one thing that didn't go well, or the one thing that we wish we would have done better. And while that's important to reflect upon, it's also just as important to focus on all you're doing that has had such a positive impact. So if you see your colleagues kind of beating themselves up a bit, remind them of how much good they're doing. Okay, remind them of the positive impacts that they have day in and day out, and how they have more of a positive impact than a negative one on each other and also on their patient care experiences. I really do believe that empowered healthcare professionals empower other healthcare professionals, and the more that we can support one another, the more we can empower one another. 4th, create a safe space to express yourselves. Okay, I believe one of the biggest causes of burnout is a suppression of expression. Venting is productive. It's not complaining. Complaining is a completely passive thing. Complaining is basically saying everything is wrong with everybody else and everything else, and until that gets fixed, I can't be happy, or I can't do my job well, which is just complaining. Whereas venting is more like acknowledging emotions behind what you're concerned about, and also identifying that you could be a part of the change and what your role is in that. So I think it's a great thing to create a safe space where healthcare professionals can feel safe enough to vent and supportive enough to offer solutions to one another. Something that might help you might help somebody else, and they just might have no idea about it. But you won't know that until you actually have the conversation around it. So it's super important to feel safe in the space you're in, and to feel safe enough to express both the challenges but also the solutions. And I do believe, and you can call me an eternal optimist that way, but I do believe there's always a solution to any problem. And finally, be accountable. This is a big one. Something my mom used to say to me growing up sometimes was, people don't see themselves, right? We don't see ourselves. We don't see the impact that we have on a culture, on an environment. We just see it for what it is, and we see ourselves separate of it, which we all have a role in that, right? We all influence each other in some way. So I think it's important to be accountable, and what I mean by that is basically knowing how your behavior or how your presence, whatever it might be, how that affects the culture of the workplace itself. And if we're not able to come from that standpoint of being accountable and being responsible that way and being really self-aware, it's a lot harder to make a positive change, right? Or to steer things in a different direction, because if nothing changes, then nothing changes, right? So, everyone kind of would have to be willing to see their role in that, and just be more aware, but also be more a part of the solution again as well. So let me know what you guys think. These are 5 things that I've noticed over the years that could turn a negative environment into a more positive one, or one that just sustains a positive work environment to begin with. Some of the challenges my clients have is feeling connected to their workplace and feeling heard and valued in their workplace, and that's just a basic human need. And at the end of the day, healthcare is about humanity, and it's about taking care of one another. It's not just about the patient care relationship between provider and patient, that direct relationship. It's about everything else and everyone else too, and how you connect and feel safe and a part of that bigger team. And the more connected that workplace is in a positive way, that can only help your patients to excel, to thrive, to have amazing experiences and express those as well. There's nothing more gratifying than when a patient says, I had no idea that that there was so much support, or that I could have this much help, or whatever it might be. There's no greater feeling than that. And that doesn't come from just the provider that they're expressing it to. That comes from the team of providers around that provider. And I think it's really important to acknowledge the team always for a patient's success. So if you guys liked this podcast, please leave an honest review. Scroll down to iTunes, write a review, and leave a 5-star review and an honest comment. That would be awesome and mean the world to me. And if you could take a screenshot of this podcast and share it to your IG stories and tag me at bestobsessed_with_Jen, that would be super cool too. And if you have any questions about this, or if you even relate to this, guys, I love when people just simply send me a DM on Instagram and are like, Jen, your podcast today totally read my mind, or this is totally how I've been feeling, and you just kind of put it into words so well, whatever it might be. I really appreciate those comments and that feedback, and us having that conversation around it. I know it's not easy to put these things out there publicly, but even through a DM, it's super helpful for one another as well to just have that conversation there. So until we chat next time, guys, uplift one another, empower each other, feel safe, and stay happy. So if you guys like this podcast, please subscribe and leave an honest review. Your feedback means everything to me. Your reviews are what moves this podcast forward, and I always appreciate receiving them. If you want to get a hold of me directly, reach out to me on social media. My handles are in the show notes, and you can always subscribe to my weekly newsletters at jennifergeorge.co so that we can stay connected. So until next time, thank you guys so much again for your ongoing support.